This is To Help You Heal, and I'm your host, Marie Monville. We are going to spend 10 minutes talking about healing. What kind of healing do you need? Is it in your mindset? Is it emotional healing? Is it spiritual healing? You know, there's a lot of healing that we all need, and this is where you're going to find it every week, 10 minutes on Tuesday. I'm so glad you're spending this time with me. Welcome to this week's episode of To Help You Heal. If you were journeying with us the past couple weeks, you've heard me talking about miracles. And last week, we talked about changing the definition of what we view as a miracle. And maybe you were listening to that podcast and you were thinking, that's great for you, but miracles don't happen for me. I want to challenge your thought process. And we're going to do that this week through a discussion on limiting beliefs. You know what is a limiting belief? Well, it is a statement that we make about ourselves, a truth that we believe that places a limitation on what we can do or achieve or who we are. And we see those in a lot of our thought processes that are negative. And so, have you ever had these kind of thoughts go through your head? I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. No one likes me. I'm not attractive. I'm powerless. Have you thought things about yourself like life isn't fair, nothing works out for me, nobody's interested in my ideas? It comes from these places of negativity where we tell ourselves this negative line of thought. And I want to kind of encourage us to think about why we do that. Why do we tell ourselves these negative things? And I think it's because it's easier to believe the negative than to believe a positive. If we're telling ourselves, no one's going to like my ideas, it's easier to believe that sometimes than to think, okay, if I put this idea out there, maybe some people will like it, maybe some won't, but you know what? Why would I let them have the final say? But we don't always do that. We don't always think about it that way. And sometimes we get stuck in this place of simply saying, nobody's going to like my ideas, or life's not fair, or things don't work out for me, or miracles don't happen to me. And so I want to ask you to think about the things you say to yourself that fall in those categories. And if you want a more exhaustive list of what is a limiting belief, what are some common ones that people say, you can search online and you will find all kinds of lists that exist. But pretty much it is the negative thought that places a limitation, that tells us what we're not going to have or the limit we can't go past. So I want you to think, what are some limiting beliefs that you have for yourself? And, I believe that we all have them. There are places in all of our lives where we tell ourselves these things. And I think again, it's because it's easier to believe that the disappointment is possible than to hope for something more than that. But there's a story attached to those limiting beliefs. They don't just exist on their own. There's something behind all of them. And so I want to ask you to dig a little bit deeper and to ask yourself the question of, where did this thought come from? Why am I choosing to believe this about myself? When's the first time I can remember having this thought? Because I think for a lot of us, we probably have limiting beliefs that have been in existence since we were children. These thoughts have kind of been following us around our whole lives. And we're so used to saying them that we don't even realize that there's anything wrong with them. Last year we talked about negative self-talk, and it's woven its way into several of our conversations. And here it is again, showing up in these places of limiting beliefs. And so if you're having trouble identifying some for yourself, I want to encourage you to find a list online or message me. I'll send you a list that you can use to check that out. And then I want you to ask yourself, why does this thing exist? Why do I choose to believe this about myself? And where did it come from? What does it tell me? Because I think there's often a theme that we can point to. Maybe there are several limiting beliefs that really stand out to you. Maybe there are some that come to the top of your mind right now. What's the theme around all of those? What's the one connection point? What's the place you can dial it all back to? Because I think it's there. And a lot of times, our ability to overcome something, it's not found by just that surface level understanding, but it's found by taking it deeper, really understanding the full story. When we know where something came from, we can better address that root cause and help ourselves to think in a different way. So Challenge yourself to find that. Find those places of what are the things, the negatives that you often think about yourself. I can't lose weight. I don't enjoy exercise. I think those are two that we probably, most of us, have felt at some point. And then it's being able to say to ourselves, you know what? I do enjoy exercise. I just have to let myself do what is fun to me. Because, maybe if you're saying, I don't like exercise, maybe it goes back to those middle school gym classes when you had to run a timed mile. Maybe that was a lot of pressure for you. And maybe it's put you in this place of saying, I don't like cardio. When it's not so much that you don't like cardio, it's that you don't like that you were forced to do something that was timed and assessed. Doesn't mean that you don't like exercise. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to find the story that exists under that belief so that you can change it, so that you can write a different story, so that you can create something that's going to help you live a more positive life. Because whenever we can identify that we're thinking something negative about ourselves, we're the only ones that's going to be able to change that. We'd want to think, oh, if somebody just gave me a compliment, that would help. That's not the truth. We have to be the ones to change it. We have to own our lives and be willing to take 100% responsibility for the thoughts that we have and the actions that then come out of those thoughts. So, as you're journeying down that path, to say to yourself, okay, why am I allowing this thought? Where did it come from? What do I want to do about it? Find that place of freedom. Find the freedom that you're going to get when you stop thinking that thing, when you choose to see yourself a different way. And then think about what it is that you want more of. Because I think whenever we have a limitation, there's something on the other side of that that we're saying we can't have. So, as you're identifying these places where you've had these limiting beliefs and you're understanding the story of how you got there and you're working to change that, what is the thing that exists on the other side of that? What's the thing that you want more of? Because, if we just simply take away that thing that we now see as the limitation, if we just take that away and we don't put something else in its place, it's going to be really easy for that thing to find its way back again. But oftentimes we do better by replacing it. It's kind of that process that we can use with habits. If we're trying to break one habit, it's often easier to do that if we replace it with a different habit. For example, maybe you're somebody who likes to drink sodas after dinner. And so you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to have some sparkling water instead of the soda. It's a lot easier to remove that soda if you've replaced it with something else. And in the same way, it's true for this. So as you're taking away that limitation, what's the thing that you want to replace it with? What's the thing that you want more of in your life? Because if you were saying, I don't really like exercise, I don't enjoy exercise, and you're able to say, hey, that comes from that place of that timed mile in gym class when I was in middle school. Okay, but there's a whole world of exercise out there that you'd probably really enjoy. And so maybe you like hiking, and maybe you can say to yourself, you know what? I love hiking. I'm going to go on a couple hikes a week just to get started and be in this place where I'm giving myself the permission to actually enjoy something. And so by changing your perception of exercise and by going on these hikes, you might decide, you know what? I think I want to lift some weights. Maybe I'm not a fan of cardio, but maybe I'd like to lift some weights, or maybe I want to do some Pilates and do some stretching. Maybe I realized in hiking that I'm not real flexible and I want to do some stretching. Just being able to allow yourself to have that experience and finding something more. That's what it's all about. Because it's not just about identifying these limiting beliefs in the way of saying, okay, here's this negative that I have and I'm going to get rid of it. It's more than that, or it can be more than that if we allow it to be. It can be this journey of discovery to know why that thought exists, and then to be able to say, all right, what is this limitation stopping me from, and how do I get to that thing that's really good on the other side? So, friend, I hope that that has been helpful for you. I hope that this little exercise has helped you heal, has helped you identify these places where you've created limitations in your mind in the way that you think about yourself. Follow me on social media if you want more compelling content that's going to help you with your mindset, going to help you find these places of healing. That's what I'm all about. I want people to love the life they live, even if they don't love their circumstances. That's what I'm here for. And then come back next week. We're going to talk about this question: How do you know when good is good enough? This is something that comes up quite often in my coaching conversations. Someone saying, you know what? I feel like I'm overdoing it. I always want 100%. I always want 110%, but it takes so much time. And I think sometimes I'm spending more time than I'm getting back in my investment. So, how do I know when good is good enough? We're going to talk about that next week. I hope you'll join me. I'll see you then.